Good morning, dear students. So today we have to start with the second part of the same chapter which we were dealing last time. That is the fundamental unit of life. So let's start. Today we are going to start with the prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Now what is prokaryotic and eukaryotic? Before understanding that, we have to understand that all living organisms present on earth can be classified into following two types. First is non-cellular organisms that do not contain any cell in their body organization, like virus is one of the example. Second is cellular organisms that contain either one or many cells in their bodies. Example, bacteria, plants, and animals. Cellular organisms are again divided into following two main types, that is prokaryotes and eukaryotes. This you have already studied little bit in class 8th as well. So let's see what is prokaryotes. These organisms have primitive and incomplete cells. Thus, they contain prokaryotic cells in their body structure. Prokaryotic cells have all three basic structures of a typical cell but lack nuclear membranes around their genetic substances, that is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Nuclear material of a prokaryotic cell is basically consists of a single chromosome which is in direct contact with the cytoplasm. That means there will be no nuclear membrane. Here are the undefined nuclear region in the cytoplasm that is known as nucleoid. There is no nuclear membrane in a prokaryotic cell. Other membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria are also absent. Clear? Now let's see what happens in case of eukaryotes. These have advanced and complete cells. These cells contain membrane-bound nuclei and other cellular organelles and are called eukaryotic cells. Such cells are found in unicellular and multicellular plants and animals and contain plasma membrane, nucleus, DNA, and cytoplasm with ribosomes and cellular organelles such as mitochondria. So basic difference is very clear. Prokaryotes, that means pro means primitive, karyotes means nucleus, or we can say before nucleus, that means the cell which does not consist of a nuclear membrane bounded structure or membrane bounded structure, that comes under the prokaryotes, and the microorganism or the organism which is having a well organized nucleus, they comes under eukaryotes. Now let's see the diagram. This is the diagram of eukaryotic cell. As you can see in this diagram as well, this is nucleus. Nucleus consists of nuclear envelope, that is nuclear membrane, then nuclear pore which allows the entry and exit, then nucleolus which is present inside the nucleus, and the whole structure is known as nucleus. It also consists of chromatin thread. Clear? So rest of the labelings are mentioned like plasma membrane, flagellum. So these are the part of the eukaryotic cell. Next is prokaryotic cell. As we have already discussed that this particular cell does not consist of nuclear membrane. So you can see the genetic material is freely present inside the cytoplasm. There is no nuclear membrane bound structure. It consists of cell wall, outer membrane, plasma membrane, capsule, nucleoid region because of the presence of nucleus freely in the cytoplasm, ribosome and pilus plus flagella. So that is the structure of prokaryotic cell. So all the typical prokaryotic cell will be, that is bacterium, and then all the blue-green algae comes under this prokaryotes. Now, what is the difference? Let's see one by one each. What is the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell? Size of a cell is generally small in case of prokaryotic. In case of eukaryotic, the size of a cell is generally large. In case of prokaryotic, nucleus is absent. That means nuclear region or nucleoid is not surrounded by a nuclear membrane. In case of eukaryotes, nucleus is present, nuclear material is surrounded by nuclear membrane. Third, it contains single chromosome. In case of eukaryotic cell, it contains more than one chromosome. In prokaryotic cell, nucleolus is absent. In eukaryotic, nucleolus is present. In prokaryotic, membrane-bound cell organelles are absent. In eukaryotic, membrane-bound cell organelles such as mitochondria, plastids, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosome, peroxisome, etc. are present. In case of prokaryotic cell, cell division takes place by fission or budding. In case of eukaryotic cell, cell division occurs by mitotic or meiotic cell division. Regarding mitosis and meiosis, you are going to study in this chapter only at the end. So don't get confused. You will get a proper explanation of these two topics. Now next is differences between nucleus and nucleus. As I have already mentioned that the basic difference between eukaryote and prokaryote is because of the presence of nucleus and nucleus. So let's see what is the difference between nucleus and nucleus. Now in case of nucleus, it is a larger in size. In nucleus, it is comparatively smaller in size. Nucleus, it has a covering of double membrane envelope. In case of nucleus, a covering membrane is absent. It lies free in the cytoplasm. In case of nucleus, nucleolus is present in it. In case of nucleoid, nucleolus is absent in it. In nucleus, its DNA content is equal to two or several DNA molecules. In nucleoid, its DNA content is equal to a single DNA molecule. In nucleus, its DNA is associated with histone proteins to form chromatin thread. But in case of nucleoid, in it histones are absent. DNA of a nucleoid is often naked. Clear? Histone is a kind of protein on which this chromatin thread is completely winded up. That means that histone helps to compact the DNA molecule. So next is division of labor. Now what is the meaning of division of labor? If you will closely study the figure which we discussed, you will notice that an organism such as human being can have cells of different kind, right? Example, sperm, leukocytes, osteocytes, muscle cell, nerve cell, fat cell, etc. This is due to the fact that there is a division of labor within multicellular organisms. Example, human beings. This means that different parts of human body perform different functions. Human body has heart to pump blood, stomach to digest food, skeletal muscles to perform movement and locomotion, and so on. Heart has a special type of muscle cells. We all know that is cardiac muscles, which contract rapidly, rhythmically, and tirelessly. They never fatigue during their lifetime of an organism. Stomach has a special cells such as mucus cells to secrete mucus for lubricating the food. Then in that way, so many different functions every organ is performing, every group of cells is performing in case of multicellular organism. So we have to differentiate on this basis what is cell organelle on the basis of labor and what is organs. So let's see. Organs are, they are found in multicellular organisms. Organelles, they are found in all eukaryotic cells. Organs, they are large sized or macroscopic. Organelles, they are very small sized, either microscopic or submicroscopic. Organs, they may be external or internal to the body of an organism. Organelles, they are mostly internal or intracellular. The organs are formed of tissues. Tissue comprises of cells and cells are formed of organelles. In case of organelles, an organelle is made up of micromolecules and macromolecules. Organ coordinate to form organ system, while organ system form the body of an organism. Organelles coordinate to produce the cell, like mitochondria, nucleus. These all are what? These all are cell organelles. Next is cell shape and cell size. This is the diagram of amoeba. Clear? This you have already studied in previous classes as well. So how this cell shape is basically affecting? The basic shape of eukaryotic cell is spherical, but the shape of cell is ultimately determined by the specific function of the cell. Thus, the shape of the cell may be variable or fixed. Variable or irregular shape occurs in case of amoeba. And white blood cells too, leukocytes, that also you have studied. In fact, leukocytes are spherical in circulating blood, but in other conditions, they may produce pseudopodia and become irregular in shape. Fixed shape of the cell occurs in most plants and animals, including euglena and paramecium. In unicellular organisms, the cell shape is maintained by tough plasma membrane, example, paramecium, and exoskeleton, example, that is polystomella. In multicellular organisms, the shape of a cell depends mainly on its functional adaptation and partly on the surface tension, viscosity of the protoplasm. The mechanical action exerted by adjoining cells, the rigidity of the cell membrane, presence of cell wall in plant cell. Thus, the cells may have diverse shapes such as polyhedral, spherical. Clear? We can see a few of the examples of these shapes in the next slide. Like spherical, as you can see, leukocyte, then spindle shape, that is smooth muscle fiber, then elongated nerve cells comes under that. Branched will be chromatophores, that is pigments of the skin, discoidal erythrocytes or red blood cells, so on. So these are different types of shape of the cell according to their function, according to their need. Next is, that is size also varies on that only, that what kind of functions they are performing. The size of different cells ranges between broad limits. Some plants and animal cells are visible to the naked eyes. Most cells, however, are visible only with the microscope, since they are only a few micrometer in diameter, a micrometer in 1000 of a millimeter. The size of a cells varies from very small cells of bacteria to the very large eggs of the ostrich. So in that way, cells of the cell organelles vary according to the size of the cell. Some nerve cells of human being have a meter long tail or axon. The single marine alga, then Estabularia measures nearly 10 centimeter in height. The fiber cells of vanilla hemp similarly are over 100 centimeter in length. So the prokaryotic cells usually range between 1 to 10 micrometer. The eukaryotic cells are typically larger, mostly ranging between 10 to 100 micrometer. Size of unicellular organism is larger than the typical cell of multicellular organism. Okay, so the basically the size of the cells varies depending upon where it is situated. It is unicellular, multicellular. On that basis, the size will be different. So next is cell volume and number. Now, what is cell volume? The volume of a cell is fairly constant for a particular cell type and is independent to the size of an organism. For example, kidney or liver cells are approximately the same size in a bull, horse, or an mouse. Now, if we see the difference in a total mass of the organ or organism depends on the number, not on the volume of the cells. Thus, the cells of an elephant are not necessarily larger than those other tiny animals or plants. The large size of an elephant is due to the larger number of cells present in its body. It's not because of the volume. Now, next is cell number. What is cell number? The number of cells is most multicellular organisms is indefinite, but the number of cells may be fixed in some multicellular organisms, such as rotifers and nematodes. Okay? These are basically aquatic animal, which is kind of similar in cell number. The number of cells in multicellular organism usually is correlated with the size of an organism. The small sized organism has less number of cells in comparison to the large sized organism. Clear? Now next is structure of the cell. Though their shape, size and activities vary, all cells have following three major functional reasons. First is cell membrane, which is also known as plasma membrane, and outer wall, that is cell wall. Next is nucleus, and the next common part is cytoplasm. So basically the outer boundary of the cell is known as plasma membrane. Inside it lies the cytoplasm. Then various cellular or cell organelles and enclosures are suspended in the cytoplasm. All activities inside the cell and interaction of the cell with its environment is possible due to these features. Out of these organelles, nucleus is visible under a light microscope. The other organelles can be seen under electron microscope only. So let's see the diagram. This is the structure of animal cell. This you have already studied in earlier classes. Few more things are added in it. We are going to study one by one a few of the parts of the animal cell and plant cell. Next is structure of a plant cell. So it also consists of cell wall, plasma membrane, then middle lamella, chloroplast, granum, mitochondria, dictyosome, which is also known as Golgi apparatus, cell sap, tonoplast, chloroplast. So these all we will study few of them in class 9. So we are done for today. Assignments I am going to give you separately. So go through the assignment questions and complete your work. Whatever, if you have any doubt, do write, and kindly practice the diagram in your copy, and whatever I'm speaking, if you find anything to write in your notes, that you can write in your notes as well. Thanks. Happy learning.